So I'm using DeepSeek, and I asked DeepSeek to help me with some interview questions on CET1 ratios and risk-weighted assets. So the first question is derive the CET1, which is Tier 1 capital ratio from Basel III, and explain how ABC securitization exposures impact the numerator, which is CET1 capital, and denominator, which is the risk weighted asset, and what happens if it falls below the 4.5% minimum. So the CET1 ratio is the CET1 capital divided by risk weighted assets. It should be greater than 4.5% or any buffers, which is like CCB. The numerator, ABS exposures may deduct the CET1 ratio if they fail the risk retention rules, like 5% skin in the game, or are residual tranches. So if your ABS exposure, they have risk retention rule, which is you should have 5% skin in the game. If it's below that, or there are residual tranches, it will impact the numerator. The denominator depends on the approach. The standard approach, 20% and to 50% risk weight, IRB model, and senior tranches may have lower risk weighted assets than equity tranches. So the below minimum, the trigger capital conservation measure, which is like what happens, like a dividend bans, bonus restriction, and potential growth intervention. So this is how this ratio gets impacted, and we are looking at mostly from the side of securitization. Now, risk-weighted asset calculation. So, for a portfolio of corporate loans and ABS tranches, calculate risk-weighted assets under Basel III standard approach and IRB approach. Highlight the difference in risk weight for senior versus mezzanine ABS tranche. So, standard approach, you will take corporate loans, which will be 100% risk weighted, investment grade. The ABS tranche will be senior, will be 20% AAA. 200% would be like a BBB negative, which is just the investment grade. The mezzanine 100% BBB plus to 1250 below BBB 0. So we see that the risk weight varies from AAA to 20% to 100% for BBB negative, which is the last investment grade. As you go down, which is BB plus positive to BB negative, from 100% it goes to 1250. The IRB approach, more like the internal approach, we calculate the PD, LGD, EAD models. We take the ABS tranches, senior, lower RWA due to credit enhancement, and mezzanine RWA, which is non-linear PD and LGD. The RB allows granular modeling, but it requires more regulatory approval, and SA uses fixed bucket. The next is FRTB's impact on market risk-weighted assets. So under FRTB, how does the shift from value at risk to expected shortfall at 97.5% affect the risk-weighted asset for an ABS trading book? Include the liquidity horizon adjustment. So expected shortfall captures the tail risk better, 97.5% confidence versus 99%, increasing risk-weighted asset for heavy-tailed ABS distribution. So the liquidity horizon for risk-weighted asset is 12.5, an expected shortfall at 97.5 multiplied by LH divided by 10 and the square root of that. The ABS liquidity horizon ranges from 20 days liquid to 120 days liquid. Longer horizons may scale up the risk-weighted asset. The non-modeling risk factors add conservative capital charges. The next is stress testing for CET1. So design a stress test where the GDP drops 5%, unemployment goes 10%, project the impact on bank CET1 ratio. Consider default correlation in ABS pool and pro-cyclicity of IRB model. So model PD increases using probability of default using logistic regression, and we find out the delta, and this could be done also through the attribution analysis. Then we adjust the ABS pool via default correlation using Gaussian copula, and senior tranches suffer if correlation is positive. The IRB approach becomes pro-cyclical. The RWA rises, PD rises, reducing the CET1 ratio. Mitigation, use downturn LGD capital buffer or switch to asset during crisis. Risk-weighted optimization. How can a bank optimize RWA for ABS portfolio while complying with Basel III? So collateral diversification, mix the asset types to reduce the concentration risk, lower HHI, and lower RWA. So collateral diversification, which is auto ledge plus mortgage link to reduce the risk, and tranche selection, prefer senior tranches but retain 5% to avoid CET1 reduction. Hedging, use CDS or index option to offset credit risk, reducing EAD. So these were the 5 questions. We'll look at the another 5 in the next one.